Keeper is a 2025 American film directed by Osgood Perkins and stars Tatiana Maslany and Rossif Sutherland. The plot follows Liz and Malcolm, a couple deciding to spend their one-year anniversary at Malcolm's family cabin out in the woods with a long, dark history. Alright, hey guys, so I believe this is film number 2 of 2025, right, for Oz Perkins, the other being the Monkey, which he actually wrote and directed. And I'm a pretty big fan of Oz, but I gotta say, The Monkey was the first film of his where I wasn't super into it. And, I didn't dislike it. I liked it okay. It was fun, had tons of great gore, but, there was just, like, something about it that just didn't work for me. And I was kind of slightly bummed, I guess you could say, because for me it was, for me personally anyways, it was like the first chink in the armor, And here we are in late 2026 with his other film, and one of my more anticipated of the year. That said, for me, Keeper was kind of the second chink in the armor for Oz Perkins. That said, I gotta say I didn't see I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House. I think it was called, from 2016. I'll admit I avoided it due to not ever hearing a single good thing about it. But I can't remember if Oz directed that or if he just wrote it. But either way, I haven't seen it. I still do kind of want to see it, though. I'm sure I'll get around to it eventually. Now, Perkins hasn't written all of his films, which is something that I sometimes forget. So Keeper was written by Nick Leppard. And interestingly enough, I gotta say, I looked him up. Because I didn't, wasn't familiar with his name. The man has 2 writing credits under his belt, right? And both are from this year, the first being Dangerous Animals. So, I mean, if you've seen my review for Dangerous Animals, I gotta say, based off, Nick Leppard's first 2 scripts, I have very mixed feelings about this guy. I think his overall concepts are pretty cool, and fairly interesting, I guess, but overall, they just don't work for me. It's like he can brainstorm a cool concept, but, maybe can't quite realize them fully. And that of course, could be partially the director's fault as well. But I also, I have problems with this guy's writing. How he's gotten these 2 high-profile gigs so far early on in his career, I don't really understand. And I'm not trying to trash him. I doubt he would ever see this video, but if he did, I would not want this to come off as negative or like an attack, because, life's too fucking short for that shit. So you've got Liz, played by Tatiana Maslany, and you got Malcolm, played by Rossif Sutherland, a happy couple, looking to do something fun for their 1-year anniversary. Malcolm decides to take Liz out to, his secluded, rural family cabin. It's a beautiful cabin, though, man. I gotta say, it's movies like this that make you feel like a poor asshole, because I'm like, I would call this cabin a mansion. That's just what I would call it. This is not your typical cabin. It's pretty fucking nice, but, I'm a working class American, what can I say? But anyways, things are almost instantly, like, slightly off-putting for Liz, and even for the viewer. There's something not right. And there's, like, this atmosphere of awkwardness is kind of the only way I think I could describe it. Malcolm has this obnoxious cousin named Darren, who has a cabin, like, right next to his, pretty much. Like, you can see it out the window. And Darren shows up one day completely uninvited with his non-English speaking European model girlfriend. And Malcolm has a cake that he claims was left as a gift from his housekeeper. And he insists that Liz try it, even though she tells him that she doesn't like chocolate. But he seems like almost oddly persistent that she try it. She also starts to hear, like, strange voices, coming from other parts of the cabin. And, she has dreams of, like, this bloody, pregnant woman who, for some reason, looks exactly like she does. Malcolm is a doctor, and he has to leave suddenly to go tend to one of his patients, kind of in an emergency thing. So while he's gone, this is where, things start to really get weird. Or, things start to get, the weirdness gets ramped up a little bit. Darren shows up, again, unannounced. Seemingly surprised that Liz is still there, almost even annoyed. And Liz also starts seeing, like, strange people, or maybe even, I guess you could call them apparitions in the house, because I'm not really sure. And at this point, she has pretty much lost trust that maybe Malcolm is, maybe he's not even who he says that he is. She starts to have developed trust issues, especially with some other things that she finds around the house. And she's just trying to make sense of everything. So Anyways, I watched this last night. Now, I gotta say, I have been thinking a lot about it ever since. It's almost been constantly on my mind, which is a cool thing. I love that. I mean, and Oz Perkins films almost always do that to me. Not so much with the monkey. So I would never have said that I was bored at any point here, but the first two acts kind of, in my opinion, set up a story that I just don't think quite delivered. It's, kind of a classic example of, is the payoff worth the time? And I gotta say here, I'm not really sure. Now, without spoiling anything, of course, I get that the dialogue and character interactions were supposed to be a little bit off, like I said earlier, but I really didn't like it. It didn't. I get what they were going for, but for me it didn't really work. The dialogue again. I don't know. I just something about it. I just didn't like the dialogue too much. And although the acting was good, across the board, of course, I didn't really care for any of the characters, which is fine. This is not a character piece by any means. So this pretty much leaves me, with the overall story. Kind of like once everything is revealed, and the third act, which were both just kind of okay to me. So I think I'm just kind of left a little bit underwhelmed, and I think that's really the best way to describe how I've been feeling about this since I've been, thinking about it so much. I feel like that third act was supposed to go into nightmare fuel territory, but for me it was just kind of weird, yeah, kind of creepy, but just not necessarily bad weird, but also not good weird. Like let's compare Keeper to Longlegs, which I get, I get it. Perkins actually wrote Longlegs, but I guess that my point is, Longlegs. And even Blackcoat's Daughter, which I'm also a massive fan of, had aspects that were intentionally unexplained and didn't really make sense to me. But like everything surrounding it was so cool that I didn't mind. I guess I kind of like cut it a little bit of slack. With Keeper, it was just like those vague, unexplained things. They just weren't as interesting to me at the end of the day. I was also disappointed on a visual level, which is weird to say. I mean, Jeremy Cox did some work on Longlegs, and I guess I missed Perkins going for that more grainy look. So I hate when I want something that was never intended. But I don't know. Keeper does look fantastic. It just wasn't what I was looking for. Like certain scenes, I even actively disliked how they looked, especially with some of the editing choices. But stylistic thing, it could just be me, and I'm not a technical guy really by any means. So I don't know. I'm giving Keeper a 6 out of 10. Again, as a big Oz Perkins fan, this was a pretty big disappointment for me. I'd recommend this to folk horror fans, sure, and of course, fellow Perkins fans, because you might like this more than me. And if you are a Perkins fan, what did you think about Keeper? I would really like to hear your opinion, because I just can't really fully get into this one. Cheers, guys, and I'll see you at the multiplex. Subscribe right now, please.